Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I wanted to talk today about if you are a beginning knitter, if you've never knitted anything before. I wanted to talk about some of the tools and such, so this will hopefully help you out. We're going to start out with needles. This is a straight needle right here, as you can see. Okay, whereas this one is a circular needle. So with a needle like this, you can knit things in the round. Okay. And then there's also needles like this, which are double point needles. And these are typically used for socks or for knitting an I-cord, which I have a video on that. Okay. Now the needles come in sizes. Okay. The US number, you'll see, I don't know if you can see that, but I can see it on here. The US goes by numbers. So this is number 10, which is a 6 millimeter. Okay. The higher the number, the thicker the needle is, okay? And the smaller you go, the thinner. See, look how thin this is. This is like a 3.5. And size 4, US size 4, okay? So when you're going to knit with a thicker yarn, you're going to want, a thicker needle, okay? When you're going to knit with lace and very fine yarn, that's when you're going to go with something thinner, okay? Typically the patterns will tell you, they'll have a suggestion, but you can work with it and see what size needle works best for you, because one thing you're going to discover when you start knitting is whether you're a tight knitter or a loose knitter, okay? And we'll talk about that in a minute. So I'm going to show you a few yarns, okay? And what I want to show you is the label. So we're going to go on here, and you're going to see that this is a size 4 category, which is a medium yarn, okay? And right here, they'll tell you what size needle they recommend. And this one they recommend a size 8 US, which is a 5 millimeter. I don't know if you can see it. It's not focusing very well. Okay. And it also tells you what type of yarn this is. That's important, okay? This is 100% acrylic. When you start out knitting, I suggest going with this type of yarn because it's inexpensive and it's good for practicing and learning, okay? So being acrylic, it's kind of a little bit more on the rougher side, but there are other acrylics that are softer too. So they've really improved the texture of acrylic, whereas years back, acrylic used to be just really rough and just not fun to work with. I have another one right here. This is cotton, but this is a cotton blend, because you're going to look here and you're going to see it says 60% cotton and 40% acrylic. So this is cotton and acrylic blended. So because it has acrylic, it's not going to shrink as much. Okay, if it was 100% cotton, then it's going to shrink, and you're going to want to wash it in cold water by hand. This is a size 3, which is thinner. Okay, it's thinner than the other one. There's also regarding this categorizing right here. There's a 2 and then there's a 1, which is very fine. Okay, 2 would be fine. 2 would be kind of like for socks. 1 would be for lace, and I think I have one here. See this right here? This is very, very, very fine. See how thin it is? I don't know if I can even... Now this is mohair and wool, okay? And look how thin it is. It's almost like thread, but it's more for lace work, okay? And this is where you're going to use those really thin needles. Now I have a project here that I'm working on, okay? See how very fine this yarn is? So I'm using pretty thin needles. This, I think, is a size 3. So it's 3.25 millimeters. Okay. I don't know if I mentioned this, but with the bamboo, you can sand the chips down, because that helps a lot in getting into the really fine stitches. And so you can do that with bamboo, which is why I like bamboo. And it's not as slippery as using like metallic or plastic or anything else. So that works out pretty good. Let me see. So I buy most of my yarns at Joann's, sometimes Michael's, but also there's this other place called lovecrafts.com. I highly recommend them. They're online and they have a high selection of the finer yarns. Because Joann's and Michael's and places like that, they're going to have more acrylics and more inexpensive yarn. But if you go to Lovecrafts, you're going to find more unique yarns. And that's for after you get some practice, okay? I've been knitting for a while, and so I like using this type of yarn. I like doing lace, so that's why I end up with a lot of these fine yarns. See, I have another one right here. I just love these really fluffy, pretty. I got this on Lovecrafts too, and the good thing about them is the color that you see on the website is the color you're going to get. Whereas like with Amazon, a lot of times I order a specific color. It looks like it's like maybe neon green, and I get it and it's like a dark green. So sometimes it's hit and miss with that. Okay. The next thing I would recommend is when you have your pattern to use these little flags to mark where you're at, the round you're at. Also, if you have to, for some reason, stop in the middle of a row to mark it, because you're not going to remember where you were when you come back. Okay, you think you are, but you're not. Trust me. So many times I had to go back and just undo the whole row because I didn't remember. And so just get one of these handy little things to mark your row, and also mark or write down somewhere, anywhere, where you left off, so that you can come back and get that. So let's see. I think that's it for now. I hope that helps a little bit. I have videos on how to cast on, how to knit continental, which is a quicker way of knitting. And so you can go and check those out. But I do recommend knitting. It's a really fun hobby. It's very relaxing. And so at least now you know, if you like what you're going to look for in yarn, what you're going to look for in needles. And so Ravelry.com has a lot of patterns and a lot of free patterns. Lovecrafts also has a lot of free patterns, because you don't want to spend a lot of money when you're starting out, when you're just learning. One more thing I wanted to mention is this wool yarn. Okay, when you get 100% wool, if you wash it in the washing machine, it's going to felt. You're going to end up with felt, and it's going to shrink. So if you're felting something, this is the yarn you need to get. Classic wool, 100% wool. It's not mixed with anything else. Okay, it won't felt if it's mixed with something else. Also, there's some wool out now that they treat so it does not felt. Okay, I think it's called DM or something like that. I can't remember, but or DK. But if you're trying to felt something, don't get the wool that says DK. You want this classic wool worsted. 100% wool. Okay, so this is a good, nice yarn to work with too. So I think that's it for now. If you think of anything else, if you have any questions, leave me a comment. And I hope you like this video, and I'll see you next time.